Hello, everybody, and welcome to Phase 1 webinar, the new features in iX Flight and iX Capture. My name is Oodi Menaker, and I'm the product manager for iX Capture, iX Flight, and iX Plan. And I'm also a commercial pilot, and I manage and execute all the flight testing of Phase 1 industrial cameras. Phase 1 Industrial is a division of Phase 1 AS. We are dedicated to research, development, and manufacturing of specialized industrial camera systems and imaging software solutions. And we focus on aerial mapping and surveying, ground and aerial inspection, agriculture, machine vision, and homeland security. We have quite global coverage with 50 distribution and service partners. Our research and development centers are in Copenhagen, Israel, and Japan. Our sales offices are in North America, Germany, and Hong Kong. We have a wide range of products. For machine vision, we have the IXM Machine Vision 150F and the IXM MV100. For the aerial part, we have cameras ranging from 50 megapixels to 190 to 1900 megapixels, including four-band solutions. We have a special computer, the iX controller. It's an industrial fanless with SSD drives, 6 power outlets, 6 USB 3 COM and IO ports. And we have a suite of software products, the iX Capture, that is used for camera control, image acquisition and monitoring, the iX Plan, that is used for flight planning, the iX Flight, that is the flight manager, flight director, sensor control and triggering, and the Capture One, which is used for editing images. Taking all the components together, all the aerial components together, we deliver also full systems, full Phase 1 aerial systems with integrated GPS and stabilizer. Those are ready to fly systems as they are delivered. And the systems are usually either single camera with the 150 megapixel or 100 megapixel, or a camera with 190 megapixel with the ability to hold another near IR camera. This gives the CIR product. We have a wide range of lenses that are planned such that anybody can fly at any required altitude with most of the usual ground separation distances, resolutions that are required. And we have a range of motorized lens in which you can change the focus in flight. And this is to support the inspection customers. And now let me show a quick list of iX Flight 12 and iX Capture features. I will first go through the list and then I'll go one by one on each of the features and explain what we did. So in iX Flight 12, the new features are a new pilot display layout and symbols, new display setting. We support PAV80 stabilizer as well as the SOMAX stabilizers. We added support for RIEGL REACQUIRE. I added communication with iX Capture, and I'll explain later the importance of this. We have a report of taken missing images. It's a summary list that is shown to the operator. We did some stability improvements and bug corrections, of course. And we implemented the usage of APPLANIX GSOF message for future use. IX capture new features. We implemented hot directory capability. I'll explain it later. We have communication with IX flight. We added file name options to enable sorting with different additional attributes. We added line deviation markers to the image page. We changed the default screen layout for IXURS 1900, and we added the ability to drag and drop camera display positions. We added error and warning icons and pop-up area on the screen. And we added network camera activation control. Wait a minute, this is only part of the list. We rearrange products of RGB and CIR processing. We added camera and lens type and serial number to the about settings. We added focus control for IX camera with motorized lens. We added log files for post-processing, lip second supports, hardware trigger through IX capture for controller Mark III and up, and power control for controller Mark IV and up. I will go now to each of these features, and we'll start with IX Flight 12 new features. By the way, if you have any question, please feel free to put the question in the question area of the webinar. And at the end of the presentation, I will go and answer each of those questions as far as I will be able to answer them. So let's start with IX Flight 12 new features. By the way, the current version is IX Flight 11.2. So this is the layout of the new pilot display. First, we changed to portrait mode. We changed it to the display to portrait mode to give the pilot visibility for longer range. It enables an easier establishment on the line. The farther you see, the easier it is to establish on the line and to keep the line. So we changed it to portrait mode. We made better use of the space by putting all the text on the right side. We added pilot control to increase and decrease the line number. So either you can ask the pilot can ask the operator to increase or decrease the line, or he can decrease and increase the line number himself. We enhanced the altitude display. This is more the format of advanced altitude display and advanced head-up displays. This is the same format. This is your target height. This is your current height. This part shows please increase your altitude by 86 feet. And if you need to decrease the altitude, it will show down here, decrease altitude, and tells you how much. We added a dynamic track line. This is a dynamic track line. It shows you a prediction of where you're going to be. We added 10 seconds tick marks on the ribbon. This ribbon goes down as you're approaching the first image, goes up from full when you're on the line. So you have tick marks. So with a flicker of the eye, you can evaluate if you have 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds to start, and you don't have to read the numbers here in the lower part. Much easier to see it. We increased the standard rate turn markers to 270. They used to be 180 degrees. When you finish a line and you go 45 degrees out, if this is only 180, then you're in this area, and you have to predict yourself when to turn back with this 270. And I'll show a demo in a few slides. You can just wait till this line intersect the next required line, and you turn back in. Additions to the inline display, we put the planned ground track, so you know which ground track you need to keep, and on top here you have your current ground track. So you know that you have to keep 10, and this is 10, you're okay. And we add a dynamic track line. This is a dynamic track line. As long as this track line is on the required line or very parallel to the required line, you will stay in a very short distance from the line. Another addition to the pilot display is marking when an image is taken based on the mid-exposure pulse from the camera. This line, green line on the top, on the bottom, lights up when an image is taken, so the pilot knows that an image is taken. What you see here on the screen is a screen recording on a test flight we did last Thursday. This is the operator screen. The pilot display is very similar to what the operator sees right now. So you will be able to see we go out of line 6 now, and the next line is line number 7. So we turn out 45 degrees out and continue the turn till the rate marking intersect with the next required line. And when the turn marker intersects with the required line, we turn inbound in rate 1. And as long as we keep rate 1 and the lines are tangential to each other, we will end up right on the required photography line. So here I will I undershoot, and now I'm going to overshoot a little bit, and this shows you how this looks when we overshoot a little bit. And we have to go back to the altitude. Once we are within the line boundaries and within 7 degrees, 7.5 degrees from the correct heading, the display changes automatically to a line display, in which there is a zoom that shows the 2 black lines on the sides are the 20 meter plus minus. This is what we defined as the boundaries, and it's configurable. And now we're taking images. You can see on the left that we're taking images. Every time we take an image, there is a green marker, and you can see that I have 25 minutes to go. 25 seconds, sorry. And another 10 seconds to go. And this is the end of this very short line. This display enables us to do a very long mission with relatively acceptable pilot workload, and with very high precision both in location and height. All the parameters of the display are configurable. We have a display settings screen in which you can configure all the colors, all the fonts. Everything is configurable, and you can save your selected configuration into a file, and you can load it into a file. You probably noticed most of this display is tuned right now for day flying. If you need to do night flying, you'll need to do another configuration, and then you can save it and load it from a file. Another part of being able to control is to show or not to show pilot display if you're flying with a pilot screen or a single screen. However, if you're flying with a pilot screen like we usually do, with a click you can move now pilot display to monitor 2 and full screen on monitor 2 and save the display position, and from now on every time you have the pilot display visible, it will show on monitor 2. You don't have to drag and drop it like in the past. You can still configure whether you want to show all information on the right side or divide information between the two sides for both operator and the pilot display. Next feature is support for PAV80 stabilizer for customers who own PAV80 and want to use it. We added the PAV80 to the sensor handler. You can select platform PAV80 and add the PAV80, and the IX flight will control the PAV80 in flight. Support for RIEGL REACQUIRE is also added for customers who have phase 1 cameras, and they add RIEGL scanner. They can now put into sensor handler the RIEGL REACQUIRE, and IX flight will activate the system. Communication with the IX capture. We are now sending to IX capture the line number, the image number in the line direction, aircraft deviation from the line, and we get file name from IX capture. This enables to add the attributes of line number, image number in the line to the file name, and this file name is stored in all the logs with the image number and file number, and I'll show it again when we get to the IX capture features. The report of taken or missing images, it shows for each line the number of images that are planned from the line, the number of triggered that are made, the number of mid-exposure pulses that are accepted from the cameras, and the number of missed images, and then we can later on refly the lines that we need to refly. Stability improvements, we increase some processes priority such that the sensor handler and IX flight will have very high priority over other processes that are running in the computer, and this enhances the stability of IX flight and sensor handler. There is an update infrastructure behind the IX flight, and there are numerous bug corrections. Application of GSOF enable the use of inertial navigation data that is not available in NMEA, but this is available only to APPLANIX users. For now, all our activities in IX flight are based on NMEA messages, such that users that do not have APPLANIX with GSOF messages can still work with it. This is for future use. Next is IX Capture new features. IX Capture 3.4 new features. Hot directory capability, we added watch folders such that once those watch folders are selected and there is a recipe, once you add files to these watch folders, IX Capture will start processing automatically. This helps customer that wants to keep IX Capture working in one location, and the pilots come with files and add those files from remote locations, and IX Capture start automatically processing, assuming there is a recipe ready. Communication with the IX Flight, we added a server portion to IX Capture, and IX Flight is the client, and you can see here one connection in the flight. When IX Flight is connected to IX Capture, this is in under settings system. The additions to the file name options. We added the line number and image in the line, and we added the GPS ID, event ID, and GPS week seconds. All these can be put into the attributes of the file name. If you have a line number and image in the line, for example, you're flying now at line number 7, and after line number 7, you decide that you have to redo line number 2 because there were clouds over part of it, then you redo line number 2 with the new, if you do have line number and image in the line in the file name, it will be very easy to sort the images and to get the images sorted based on line numbers and image in the line. And you don't have to look where are those images that I redid and select the different images. It's very easy now to see which one you did first, which one you did second, because if you have, for example, GPS event ID, so the images that you did later on will have much higher GPS event ID, but you still sort by line number and image in the line, and you can then select the images you did second time over the images that are stored in the system from the first time. Line deviation markers, this was a request by one customer, so now you can see in the operator, when the operator sees only the images on top of the images screen, on top of the capture screen, you can see whether the lines are taken within the required tolerance. In order to activate it in system, you need to tick mark the line deviation to make it visible, and then you'll see the line deviation on top of the capture screen. The ability to drag and drop camera display positions. In prior versions of IX Capture, the different cameras were put on the screen based on the order in which the USB connected. Not anymore. In the next version, you can decide where to put each camera based on your preferences. The right will be on the right, the left will be on the left, forward will be up or down as you would decide. And once you drag and drop a camera to a certain place, it will stay there for future use, future restarts with the same camera. This will enhance the usability of the system, make it easier for the operator to see which camera is which and make his decision very intuitively. The addition of error and warning and pop-up area on the screen, we had some instances in which important messages were missed, like for example, if the if the space on the disk is coming to an end. So we added several messages as pop-ups. Once you get this pop-up, you do OK and you can close the message. But at least very important messages like disk space, end of disk space, or an issue with the camera will pop up, and it will be very easy to notice them and very easy to take an action on time. Network camera activation control. This is relevant for IXM camera. The control over 10G network. This is in settings here. You can put all the network settings for network camera for the IXM cameras. Rearrange products for RGB and CIR. This is housekeeping, but this housekeeping saves time to all those who process thousands of images. In the previous version, 3-band and 4-band were in the same directory, and then calibrated and regular near IR and calibrated and regular RGB were in the same directory, so the user had to do some work to divide them. Now we divide them a priori in the processing, so you get 3-band in directory, 4-band in a different directory, calibrated near IR in one directory, regular near IR, and then calibrate RGB and regular RGB, all of them in distinct directories, so it will be very much easier to keep the process much easier. The addition of a camera and lens type and serial number to the about in the settings, especially when you work with multiple cameras, much easier to see the serial number and model and the firmware, especially firmware of the camera you're flying, and the capture count. Make sure that the capture count is not near the time when you need to send the camera to maintenance, and the same for the leaf shutter count. Now it's very easy to see it. The focus control for IXM camera with the motorized lens. With the motor lens, you want to get to the correct place pretty fast. So the controls that we put, you can drag and drop this arrow, or you can put the range either in feet or in meter into this box, and it will go to the correct place. You select whether you are working in feet or in meters in the focus units in setting systems. Once this is the course gets to the place, you can do fine refinements using those arrows. These are the fine refinements to the focus. So now it's very easy to get with motorized lens to the correct focus really fast on the screen. Log files for post-processing. We added image ID file for the images. This file is important for customers who work with PostSpec or GraphNav. The image ID file, the left column is GPS time in week seconds. The right column is file name. The only thing is you will have to still go in and change the IIQ to either TIFF or JPEG, whatever file you're using, but still you have the list quite ready for you. And we added EXIF-log in tab delimiter text. It's the same EXIF-log that is in CSV today, but there are softwares that need it in text, and for us to do it when we write the software, it's nothing, it's to add a line, but for the user that process the data, it saves a lot of time, those edit image ID file and the right format of EXIS file. Leap second support, we added the GPS leap second support, the difference between GPS time and UTC time. Those who wants to work in UTC can now work very easily in UTC, because we get, in weak seconds, we get GPS time. And if you want to work in UTC seconds, then we have here the leap seconds put into the system. Hardware trigger through IX capture. In previous versions, we had only a software trigger with IX capture. So for customers who trigger through IX capture and not through the IX flight or any other flight management system, they could not activate multiple cameras because the synchronization in software is not that good. So we added hardware trigger through the I/O cable. It enables operation of synchronous multiple camera through IX capture. It works on IX controller Mark III and up, just because IX controller Mark III and up have this I/O port. The controller Mark I and Mark II do not have an I/O port, so it won't work there. So if you have a Mark III or Mark IV through an I/O cable, you can activate now multiple cameras with the hardware activation. In settings system, you select the use hardware trigger and the trigger interval, and the trigger in IX capture, it's written now hardware trigger when you select this. If you don't select this, it's written software trigger. And the last one for Mark IV controllers that are going out now, we enable control over power for cameras and for accessories through check marks in the system settings. So if this should be checked, both of them should be checked in order to have the power. Usually on accessories, we put GPS and the two screens, pilot and operator screens, and then the cameras take the power from here, from the left one. And if you want to reset the cameras, or if you want to shut down the cameras at the end of the mission, but you still want to keep the GPS and the screens, so you can just uncheck the camera power and it will take the power from those three, and the cameras will be shut down. So in summary, we have lots of new features. Those features enhance in-flight productivity and the usability of the system, both in-flight and post-flight. We are now testing those versions, and we modify the manuals. So we expect a release at the end of this month, assuming all the test flights go well. So with this, I will go to your question. I have now only one question regarding Ethernet capable. Well, I assume, look, regarding Ethernet, we have now the 10G. 10G can move the pictures in reasonable rate. Regular 1G Ethernet can be maybe used for settings the camera. It cannot be used for moving the images. It won't be able to handle the rate of the data. So we do have 10G. Regular Ethernet, we do not have right now a control of the cameras for 1G Ethernet. Anybody other question? Please write it down in the question window of the on the lower part of the meeting. Name chose. Oops, that was just a second. Recently, there was an article discussing how photography will soon replace the need for LiDAR on UAV. Just a second, I can't read all the questions. It's a too large question. Well, unfortunately, I can't see on the screen the full question, so oops, no, maybe now. Okay. Wow. I use IX Capture to process RGB plus near AR, 4-band IIQ files. I would like for the well, I have to apologize. There are many questions, but I can't see them all.
Oodi, would you like me to read some of them out?
Yes, please do, because I can't read them.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. So I used IX Capture to process RGB and NIR 4-band IIQ files. I would like for the output 4-component TIFF files to not be affected by a gamma correction or to allow for the gamma to be equal to 1. But this option is not present in IX Capture. When can this option be added to IX Capture?
Well, in IX Capture now, if you do a change in Capture 1 and apply all and not move the images from where they are, IX Capture will take into consideration the COS file of Capture 1. So any change you do to the images in Capture 1, and you can do a change to one image in Capture 1 and apply to all, even 1,000 images. And then when processing Capture 1, IX Capture will take into account the COS file of Capture 1, and this may solve this issue. The next question.
It says, what is the precision of the GPS week seconds in the new file name choice for IX Capture?
Microseconds, as far as I remember. Okay. 1 minus 1 e minus 6.
Okay. Will you provide?
By the way, this is what the GPS gives. Whatever the GPS gives, this is what we use.
Okay. It says, will you provide IX flight training program?
We do provide. It's possible to get IX flight training. This is something that you have to ask from your salesperson, and we do train on IX flight.
Okay. And then there was one that you started reading out. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on it. Recently, there was an article discussing how photogrammetry will soon replace the need for LiDAR-based UAVs. What are your thoughts? That might be another webinar, maybe.
Yeah, this might be another webinar, but remember there is a major difference between LiDAR and photogrammetry. LiDAR provides multiple Z for a single XY and penetrates trees. Photogrammetry point cloud is a single Z for each XY. Those two are complementary. I don't think that photogrammetry will totally replace LiDAR, especially in areas where there are trees or in areas where any penetration is needed in order to get to the ground.
Yeah. Okay, I think you've covered all of the questions that are there, Oodi.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
That's okay.
So, thank you very much for attending our webinar. Our next webinar is on the 25th of this month, so stay tuned, look at our site and register for it. This webinar will be available in 2 or 3 days. The recording will be available in 2 or 3 days, and you will be able to watch it or share it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.